Hello and welcome to SVG Europe FutureSPORT event 2019 here at Stamford Bridge in London. My name is Natalie Quirk and I have two very special guests with me. Narinder, the outside broadcast operations executive for BBC Sport, and Joe Finon, the contract manager at Sky Sports. Both of you, thank you very much for joining us. We're here to talk about remote productions and your experiences of it. I wanted to start by asking you both kind of what your experiences have been like of remote production for the large and distant events such as the Olympics compared to more localised events.
Yeah, sure. Well, 2018 was quite a big year for us doing large events in a remote production model. We did the European Championships, Winter Olympics and the Commonwealth Games all as remote productions. We don't tend to do that many more localised remote productions, but we do smaller scale remote productions. So we'll do things like cycling and swimming, also where we'll take the world feed, send presenters and commentators out. The smaller ones can be just as difficult to organise. The bigger ones usually have a bigger budget, they have a larger team working on them. It's really a case of what can we achieve by remote production. Quite often it can mean, especially on things like the Winter Olympics that we've been doing for sort of 10 years plus in a remote model, it can mean the budget goes further because we're not sending as many people to site. And the bigger thing nowadays is sustainability, so it's not necessarily always the cheaper option. It's actually, will it be more sustainable?
And absolutely seconding that. So remote production gives us the opportunity to go to events that we might not have had the capacity to go to before. So like for the Lions Tour in New Zealand, we might not necessarily been able to do that, but because we were able to get the connectivity in place, it meant that we could do a remote production for that. Other things that we've been working on, so we've done big events like Formula One remotely, and we've also done Championship football. We went live with that in November this year. So massive scale events where we can save a huge amount on flights and freights with Formula One, and also then the local events, which really are dependent on the connectivity at the venues, facilities back at Sky, but the impact that we have with that is reducing the amount of travel, the amount of the guys driving to site is huge.
Narinder, you mentioned sustainability. How big a justification is that for using remote production?
I think it's the main justification now. It used to be remote production was about budgets and where you couldn't afford to go somewhere, and trying to find ways of being innovative with small budgets. But now it really is about actually, do we need to fly all of these people and all of this equipment halfway around the world? Can we find a cleverer way to do this? Can we do something that's just as good, brings the event to the audience in the same way, but that doesn't have that impact on our planet, basically.
Joe, then are you pushing your partners then to be and prove that they are sustainable?
Absolutely. So as a contracts manager, we work with suppliers all the time. So for the first time, we've introduced responsible business questions into our RFP. So we're not only looking at suppliers based on their commercial proposal and their technical, what they're actually delivering, the service, and if it's UHD or the latest technology, but also we're asking them how are they as a supplier reducing their carbon footprint, what are they doing to increase the amount of underrepresented communities or individuals from underrepresented communities on site, and also we're then ranking those companies or judging and awarding essentially based on that criteria. So that's been a really big move. We went live with that last year, November last year. And also, it's not just a tick box exercise. We're not just asking that question at the start of the RFP process and never asking that again. We've introduced responsible business targets within the contract. So every year, sustainability is on the agenda. And actually, that's what's been really nice is from a supplier's perspective, they're doing some fantastic things. They are, as a company, like all companies, they are looking at how they can work with like Mama Youth Project to try and get more diversity into the industry. But they never tell us about it. So actually asking them at the RFP process, we get to understand and choose the company that are doing the the best and trying to be the most sustainable.
Having a work-life balance in this industry we know can be difficult, in any industry I suppose, but so important now. Is there something to be said then about using remote production and how can it aid that work-life balance?
Well, I'd say definitely from a personal point of view, I was able to work on both the Commonwealth Games and the Winter Olympics last year because the remote production was based in Salford. So I would work on them and I would go and see my family in the evenings. I was going back to my own home. I've got 3 little children that I was getting to see. If I'd have been out on location, it would have meant being away from home for 3 months because I'd have been there for the build and then right until the end of the D-rig. So definitely I think there is something to be said about work-life balance. Maybe not as great as everyone thinks, because actually there are times when you may get to go home, but you're not going home until 3 o'clock in the morning, you know. So, but I think it's definitely a plus.
And yourself?
Absolutely. From our side, the guys aren't spending their life. The people, I should say, aren't spending their lives driving up and down the motorway. They are able to go home, especially for the more local events, I guess. This is where work-life balance really does make a difference. And we were saying that when things are going on at home, just being able to be at home does really make a difference. Just being able to sleep in your own bed, it really does. That's one of the big wins with remote productions. But also, Sky's got fantastic facilities. We've got the gym, we've got brilliant cafes. One of the guys, I asked him yesterday, what's your favourite thing about remote production? He said the food, because they've got so much choice. That's what's really nice. But also, from a wellbeing perspective, we've got wellbeing champions on site that they can talk to. So mental health is a real big one with us. So it's not just about the environment, it's also about the people and giving them more access and a better work-life balance.
We've touched on it, but why is sustainability so important today?
Well, I think, you know, you just need to look at the news outlets to see we are in a climate crisis, and it's up to us all as individuals, but also as an industry, to take this seriously and to try and do something about it before it's too late.
And from Sky Sports' perspective, we look at sustainability holistically. So we want to be a broadcaster in 50 years' time. If we don't make changes today, we will not. And that's yes, it's on the environment, it's making sure that we're reducing our carbon footprint, but it's also behind the scenes, making sure that the people working behind the scenes reflect the society that we live, because we have got an ageing workforce, we've got a white middle-class male workforce, and retaining that skill set, retaining that talent is getting very difficult with the work-life balance. So we need to increase the amount of underrepresented communities and females into the industry, and we can only be here tomorrow by changing today.
Jo, Narinder, it's great to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us today.
Thank you.